Have you ever felt like there might be a totally different way to think about core Christian ideas? Concepts like sin, salvation, even God himself. Well, today we're diving into Eastern Orthodox theology. It's a journey into a perspective that often comes at these huge questions from an angle that might feel completely new if you're used to a more Western framework. We're going to explore how this ancient tradition sees our purpose and our relationship with the divine. So here's the game plan. We're going to walk through 5 key ideas, and you'll see how each one builds on the last. We'll kick things off with the very foundation of Orthodox faith, something called holy tradition. From there, we'll get into how they understand God's nature, then redefine sin, look at salvation as a kind of therapy, and wrap up with the ultimate goal of it all, which is pretty incredible.
All right, so where do we even begin to unpack this? Well, we have to start right where the Orthodox Church itself starts, with the very foundation of its faith.
And that brings us to this really fundamental question. Is your faith something that's contained entirely inside a book? Or is it something more? A living, breathing reality that's been passed down through the generations? For the Orthodox, how you answer that question changes absolutely everything.
See, that living reality is what they call holy tradition. And here's the big twist. For the Orthodox, the Bible is part of tradition, not the other way around. The idea is that the Church and its living experience of God actually came first. The scriptures, the creeds, the councils, even the icons, all of it grew out of that life. So tradition is this continuous living mind of the Church, guided by the Holy Spirit through time.
Okay, so this foundational idea of a living tradition, it directly shapes how the Orthodox understand God himself, the divine reality. At the very heart of Orthodox theology, you find this amazing paradox. God is transcendent, which means he's completely beyond our universe, totally separate. But at the same time, he's also immanent, meaning he's right here, intimately involved in everything. So how can both of those possibly be true?
Well, the Orthodox answer lies in this really crucial distinction between God's essence and his energies. Think of it like the sun. You can't touch the essence of the sun, the star itself. You'd be vaporized. But you can absolutely experience its energies. You can feel its warmth and see its light. It's the same with God. His inner being, his essence or ousia, is completely beyond our grasp. It's unknowable. But, and this is the key, we can know and experience God directly through his uncreated energies. That's his actions, his grace, his love. They flow from him, and they really are God.
And this one, God, the one we experience through his energies, is of course understood as the Holy Trinity. 3 distinct persons, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, who all share that single, unknowable divine essence. This is the absolute bedrock of who God is.
So if that's God, then what's our problem? This brings us to the Orthodox view on sin, and it really reframes the entire human dilemma.
The Greek word for sin, hamartia, literally means to miss the mark, like an archer who misses the target. So this is huge. Sin isn't seen mainly as a legal problem, like breaking a divine law and getting a guilty verdict. Instead, it's understood as a spiritual sickness, a condition that damages us and gets in the way of our relationship with God. One source puts it perfectly. It says that sin is the impetus to become something other than what we were created for. So it's not just about what we do wrong. It's about a fundamental distortion of who we are supposed to be. And this leads to a massive difference in what we inherit from Adam and Eve. In the Orthodox view of ancestral sin, we don't inherit the guilt of Adam's action. What we inherit are the consequences, a fallen, mortal nature that has this tendency toward sickness, toward missing the mark. To put it simply, we're born into a hospital, not a courtroom. Okay, so if sin is a sickness, then it makes total sense that salvation has to be a form of healing, right? And that leads us to this beautiful concept of salvation as a kind of divine therapy. This healing process is called synergeia, which literally means synergy or cooperation. It's a team effort. God, the divine physician, offers the cure, completely free. But for that healing to actually work, the patient, that's you and me, we have to freely choose to take part. We have to take the medicine, do the spiritual therapy, and participate in our own recovery. So from this point of view, the church isn't some courthouse where we're waiting for a verdict. It's a spiritual hospital. It's the place you go to get the therapeutic treatment you need to heal your soul from that sickness of sin and get back into communion with God. And what part of us is actually being healed here? Well, Orthodox theology points to something called the nous. Now, this isn't just your brain or your intellect, it's the eye of the soul or the heart, the deepest spiritual center of who you are. The fall damaged our nous, it clouded our spiritual vision, and it's the healing and renewal of the nous that's the real focus of this divine therapy. So let's connect the dots. We have a living tradition, a God we can actually experience, a view of sin as a sickness, and salvation as the therapy to heal it. So, where is all this going? What's the end game? What's the ultimate goal of this entire journey? Well, I can tell you this, the Orthodox answer is something way more radical, way more profound than just being forgiven and getting a ticket into heaven. The end goal is nothing less than a complete and total transformation of who we are.
And this goal has a name, theosis. It's also called deification. And honestly, this is the central, driving idea of Orthodox spirituality. Just think about what this means for a second. It's the process of becoming so united with God, so filled with His divine energies, that we actually become, by grace, what God is by nature. It's a lifelong journey of participating in the very life of God Himself.
So let's just recap the huge shifts in thinking we've covered. We've seen tradition as a living guide, not just an old book. We've seen sin not as a crime to be punished, but as a sickness to be healed. Salvation isn't a one-time legal declaration, but a cooperative therapeutic process. And the breathtaking goal of it all? Deification, theosis.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If the spiritual life is truly a therapy for the soul, a lifelong process of healing and being transformed, how might that completely change the way we approach our faith, our struggles, and our entire relationship with God?